Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of El Local Podcast 831. I am your host, Eddie Gonzalez, and today we have James Sandoval joining us. How's it going, James?
It's going good. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you are traveling a lot, so thank you for taking time. James, you are a community member, born and raised in Watsonville, and you are currently the vice president of the S.M.A.R.T Transportation Union.
That's correct.
And that union is not just nationally, right? It's globally.
Yep, internationally.
International.
Yeah. Canada, too.
Canada, okay.
Yeah.
So that's cool, man. That is super cool. For a lot of people that don't know, James and I grew up together, went to Freedom School the time that I was there. We also played football at Cabrillo, so we can touch on that a little bit. But it's cool, man, to see that from what I've known of you, right? For you to be at this level of just great things that you're doing. So I really appreciate seeing, when you're posting that you're at, at this state, that state, sometimes you're, Canada, so that's pretty cool, man. It's pretty cool.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So born and raised in Watsonville. Okay. Kind of take me through, and I usually ask people, right, what was your experience growing up? What are your fondest memories growing up in Watsonville? It's changed over the years. And so what are the things that you remember growing up here?
Just that, small but big community where, everybody knows each other. And this is something about Watsonville, everybody gravitates towards it. And when you leave, you miss it and you want to come back. And this is something not like it. And I'm especially realizing that with all the traveling I'm doing. I always want to come back home. I'm ready to come back home. And
yeah.
It's just a beautiful place and a lot of good people here.
Yeah. Yeah. And I want to touch on that when you say that you travel a lot, right? And you're seeing all these other communities out there, but nothing compares to home.
Right.
What do you see out there that really makes you miss Watsonville? I'm sure it's a culture shock, right? So what is it about out there that, you appreciate, but then, Watsonville, you said?
Well, number one's the weather.
Uh-huh.
I'll be honest with you. I think this is almost one of the last spots where we don't really deal with humidity.
Mm-hmm.
Weathers almost don't exist where we got like the same weather all
Yeah.
year long. And when you go to other places, that was the funny thing about when I first started traveling. I didn't think to check the weather. And I showed up to Cleveland in the middle of winter, and I only brought shorts and a polo. That was a harsh reality check that not everywhere is like Watsonville's weather, and that I would say that's number one. And number two is just our diversity, our cultures, and, everything that's going on here. You don't see that, a lot of places. And that's something I started truly appreciating that we have here, is that you do feel like you belong here, and nobody feels like makes you feel like an outcast or anything like that. I get that sense of feeling when you travel to other places.
Nice. And when you started traveling, what was the first place you went to? Was it Cleveland, you said?
It's one of the first places,
Uh-huh.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
where our headquarters are for our international union for the transportation division.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And when I mentioned culture shock, right? What are the one thing that you're like, crap, I'm not in Watsonville anymore, other than the weather? No Mexican food out there?
Yeah, definitely no Mexican food. There's nothing like the Mexican food that we got here. I guess it's just a variety of different things, man. It's just the little things that you can tell that it's just not the same.
Yeah. Like they say, we're not in Kansas anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah. James, I remember us growing up together, and one of my favorite memories growing up is the Pokemon phase in our life. And I remember we used to collect a lot of Pokemon stuff, cards. We used to play the games, and at one point we were neighbors in a way,
Right.
You still collect Pokemon cards and everything?
No, I don't collect them anymore, but the collection's still there.
Is
I'll tell
it?
you that, yeah. And the funny story about that is that my mom got into the Pokemon collection, and she did a better job at collecting them than I did, and she stored them all for us. So You know, she's since passed away, but I still got all of her collections from the originals to probably up to 2005. And,
Yeah.
I was super into it, you know, playing the Game Boys and collecting the Pokemon cards.
Yeah.
And,
I remember when I would come over and we would see the collection. It was, you know, those scenes in the movie when like they open up a briefcase and it's like the light is like, oh, that's how it was, dude. I remember, and I remember, you know, the couple times that, you know, she showed us her collection and stuff. It was like holographic. I'm like, dude, this is like the holy grail of Pokemon cards. And I remember that as a kid, like what is this? You know, it's so cool.
That's so funny, man. That's cool. Yeah, they're still like that. They're all numbered, you know, all in order, all holographic, all, you know, the rarest cards that I could think of, you know, they're all there. So we're just holding on to them and, you know, seeing where it goes with the value of it. Maybe
who knows? One day you could just like,
one day
buy an island with all of that.
And Pokemon's still popular.
It is, dude. It is. And I still have mine too from when I was a kid. And I mean, I've lost a lot, but I have them in this little binder, and I'm like, dude, one day I'm just gonna sell them. You know, I'll just do like a what do they call it? What's that website?
eBay.
eBay. Yeah. So eBay, they have a lot of like mystery boxes, right? They just put a price.
Oh, there you go.
So I was thinking, like, you know what? I don't know how much they're worth. I mean, I know they're up there a little bit. Just put them all in a box. Mystery, sell it. Box, sell it. $50,000. I don't know. Maybe.
There's a lot of people into it. I would imagine they would sell.
Yeah. So I don't know. One day we'll see how it goes. But Pokemon, I do that. That is, I'm still into it. I still play Pokemon Go.
Okay, there we go.
So I'm a 35-year-old child. So.
Ain't we all?
And then kind of going into, you know, kind of fast forward a little bit. We played ball together as well. You know, we were at Cabrillo for couple years. I think we played one season together. What are your fondest memories of playing ball? Because I know you played at high school too, played at Watsonville High. What are the things that you remember most about playing ball?
You know, just having something to do. I'll be honest with you. I was dealing with a lot growing up, and I needed something like football, and I needed something like rugby and all the other sports I played. And obviously the people, you know, you're one of my friends on the team, and we had a lot of good people playing for that team. Yeah. So it was always something to really look forward to. And then also just, you know, be able to channel the stuff that you're going through and put it in a positive way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I remember we weren't that good that year. We weren't that good. No. But it was still fun. I think I remember there's something about it, right? You said channeling whatever you're going through into this outlet. And there's something about being on the football field, right, that it just makes you forget, right? Even during practice, right? You know, there's a lot of times that I'm sure you also had it where you had a rough day, rough week. So going to practice was your way to, like you said, channel it, let it out, cope with whatever it is that one's going through. Right. But yeah, dude, I miss those days.
Yeah, I miss them too.
Yeah, if I could play football for the rest of my life, I would. But, you know, father time catches up. And then, like, now as an adult, I'm like, dude, like, what is this? You know, like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I couldn't feel this. And all of a sudden, like, what is this extra noise in my joint?
Right. Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, the good old times. And so you played ball. You know, I know I'm kind of picking here and there. So you're playing ball. You're in college. Okay. Post college, what do you do? Did you go to school after Cabrillo? Did you go to university? Because I think after that one season, we kind of like lost touch a little bit. So what did you do kind of after that time?
Well, I focused on you know, graduating from Cabrillo and getting my associate's degree in general, you know, education, and then I got part of the. I went into the radiology wait list, and that's what I focused on. I took all the prerequisites to get into that, and then as soon as we that year that we graduated, 2 days later, I got hired at Santa Cruz Metro as a bus operator, and that wait list is really long to be a radiologist. So this job as a Metro bus operator was supposed to be a stepping stone for me. Just like hold it until one day my name might be called.
Yeah.
For the 2-year program or whatever they got, and yeah, and that's how everything just started. It just got hired at Santa Cruz Metro and did that for a while until the union thing started happening. And
and when you first started as a Metro bus driver, like you said, it was more like a holding place until you got into the radiation. And yeah, we all know like anything Cabrillo programs, it takes a year, 2-year wait list to get there. And if I'm not mistaken, now it's just a lottery.
Right. Yeah, they changed it. I'm actually still on that waiting list.
No way, really?
I am. Yeah, but it's kind of my mistake because when I became a union rep, I changed my email, and the email that I had registered for their renewal that they got to do every year, forgot to change it. And so, or I forgot to, change the email that they notify me on. So I missed it. And so what they do is if you miss it, they drop you off completely. So I had to figure out a way to get back on, and I got back on, but they threw me back at the bottom. I was like 5 years deep when that happened. So now I'm again on the wait list, and I think this is the year where they're supposed to call me now because I'm the last piece of no more lotteries.
Yeah.
So, but I'm at the point where it's not my calling anymore, or that's not what I want to do. So
yeah.
And it just happened to work out. It was a silver lining that happened.
Yeah. But before that, before you found out, what you're doing is you're calling. Why did you want to go into radiation? Like, what was that?
I'll be honest with you, it was the money. I just remember somebody putting on a presentation in probably Watsonville High School, I think, and he was just talking about the money that comes with being a radiologist. And, I feel like the struggles I had growing up was really robbed me of like dreams, to be honest with you, because all I cared about was making money.
Yeah.
Not for myself, but for my family. My parents had a hard time with money and putting food on the table and homelessness and all that stuff. So for me, it was chasing stability and chasing a job that could really take care of me and my family. And that was what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So
isn't that like something that a lot of people go through here? You think, like, even for myself, like, we want that job that's going to pay us top dollar.
Right.
Because we want to get out of our situation, or we want to, like, support our family.
Right.
But a lot of the times it's like, it's not what we love to do.
Right.
And so even now, like, I totally relate to that I want to, for the longest time, I wanted to have that job. Right. And so technically I found this, and it's like, there's money in here, but not really until you get to a point. But it's like, you find something that you love,
right,
and you realize, and I hope people realize this early on, that the money doesn't bring you happiness.
It doesn't.
Right. And it's so taboo to say, especially in this community, and the way that we're living in this world, right? It's like, well, you don't want to make money. It's like, no, it's not that I don't want to make money,
right?
But I want to be able to love what I'm doing, right? Because they say that if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life.
Right.
Right. So
right.
Is that how you feel doing what it is that you're doing?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. And so you jump into the Metro. What was that experience like for the first time? We all drive, but you're driving a freaking 20-foot bus? 40-foot bus?
Yeah. So typically they're 40-foot buses. Our smaller ones are 35. And now we got those big old accordion buses. They're articulated buses. Yeah. Those are up to 60 feet.
Dang.
Yeah.
Dang. So what was your first initial day like?
I'll be honest, it's nerve-wracking, right? Just with anything new that you do, and especially with how large those vehicles are. It was nerve-wracking, but, the training program's pretty good. They start you off really slowly. You don't need to have your commercial B and all that to get hired and start doing the training. They train you to get your commercial B and pass your endorsement, all that stuff. But once you get used to it, you it's almost like you forget you're driving a bus, because it's just like with anything, right? It takes time.
Yeah.
And there'll be times where I'm thinking I'm driving my own personal vehicle, and I've gone off route that way where I'm thinking I'm going home right now.
Yeah.
So you get comfortable eventually.
Yeah. Yeah. And having people in it, right, as well.
Right.
So you have to be aware of, the people that you're in there. Did you ever have like like you say, you kind of zone out and you get so comfortable that you're driving yourself home in the big old bus. But did you ever have like a, oh crap, dude, like I don't know what I'm doing kind of moment? You know, like I don't want to put you on the spot, but it's like, you know, you get so nervous that you forget what you're doing because like it's just like, oh.
Right. Yeah, there's one story I could share. So, training's 3 months, right? And then they train you with, you know, all the routes that could happen, all the detours could possibly happen. And during training, not to keep going back through it, but I was going through a lot at that time too. Yeah. So, you know, sleep was hard for me and I was exhausted a lot and traveling a lot, you know, living further and further away from Santa Cruz and having to travel that and all that good stuff. So when they finally put us through a detour, whenever Highway 17 is blocked, we're supposed to go up Highway 9 and do, you know, go through Saratoga and all this other stuff. And I just remember the trainer saying that, you know, we're going to train you on this, but more than likely you'll never have to do it. And so that was my moment where I'm like, all right, I'm going to check out. You know, I'm not going to really pay attention, I guess, because I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
And then sure enough, one of my first routes on Highway 17, the freaking road's blocked. Dang. So I'm having to do this detour I didn't really pay attention to. And I was the most nervous, you know, you could be, and having to like try to remember of where we're supposed to go, and the radio service is not so great up that way. Yeah. So, you know, I figured it out, but that was one of my moments like, oh my God, like, this is crazy.
I don't need this training. I'm good. I'm never, bam, 17 closes.
Yep. You just never know. So pay attention all the way through. You never know.
I do want to say this about bus drivers, and I've ridden on the bus to San Jose on 17, and you would think, like my first time going, like you would think, oh crap, this is gonna be like crazy. It's gonna be like, you know, bumpy and, you know, swervy, and it's like surprisingly like smooth.
Yeah.
You know, so I definitely want to give a shout out to whoever trains, because that ride is smooth. You know, it's better than I expect, and so I've done it multiple times, and it's like, dude, like I even fell asleep one time.
Right.
You know, because it's like I feel so comfortable, like, you know, the smooth ride, you know, it's all good. But
well, that's another thing. When I travel, I try to get on the transportation systems, and, you know, we're one of the few places that has to deal with mountains and curves,
really,
and, you know, like all that good stuff. It's usually like straight lines and blocks and squares, and, you know, so what our drivers go through is pretty unique.
Really?
And, you know, it's a game of inches for us because these roads are pretty narrow, and, you know, we're getting it done all day, every day. So,
dang, would you say that, like, if you could drive in Santa Cruz County, you could pretty much drive anywhere?
I would say that 100%. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
You know,
so that's
minus the traffic. I mean, we deal with traffic, but when you deal with like New York and LA that's
traffic,
a little different. But yeah, when I'm talking about just driving skills.
Yeah. Dang, that's cool. Yeah. That's cool. So you're a bus driver. Around what year was this?
I got hired December 12th, 2012. So
2012. Okay. Yeah. So you're driving the buses, right? You're there. You're kind of waiting for your call. Okay. At what point were you just like wanting to do more in the setting, the metro setting?
Well, I was already doing it for quite some time, and when you do something like this, you love it because you do come across people in the public, and, you know, you just develop these relationships and stuff. But, you know, I think it's in my nature where I just felt like I wanted to do more eventually, because it was the same stuff all day, every day, you know. And I was thinking about going back to school and thinking about doing a lot of different things, and, you know, obviously still waiting for the radiology thing, and and then somehow this union thing fell on my lap and came out of nowhere, and I didn't know it was going to take me where I'm at now.
Did you know what a union was at that time?
I didn't. So for a while, I didn't, you know, obviously I paid my dues, and I never really went to a meeting, and I didn't know about the union. Nobody took the time to really educate me on that. But, you know, I started getting into, it's random, but I had like a phase of learning about retirement, and I was spending a lot of my lunches and breaks and just helping people with like setting up their retirements, and, you know, people getting ready for retirement. And then I guess that started developing my reputation of wanting to help people. And then somebody just posed the idea randomly one day while I was sitting on lane 1 in Santa Cruz, saying, hey, we've been talking and we think that you should run this union.
What?
I'm just thinking, I'm like, well, what is that, and what is a union,
Yeah.
and who is in charge of? Like I just had a lot of questions. But with me, I'm the kind of guy that just rolls with things. So I was like, okay, well, let me look into it. And next thing you know, I'm running for the position, and next thing you know, I win, and next thing you know, I'm doing it for 5-6 years, and next thing you know, the international union took recognition of the stuff that we were doing at the local level, where they wanted to do it wanted me to do it at a higher level,
Yeah.
and help as many people as I can across the nation or internationally now. And yeah, this took off pretty quick.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you.
Dang. Wow. Yeah, it seems like it, it did. They just throw you into it, and it's just kind of like one thing after the other. And so, as for those who don't know, when you run for office in general, right, union, political, whatever, you got to get nominated, right, and then you got to accept it, right, and then do you have like a campaign? Do you start a campaign?
You can campaign. You don't have to, but if you really want it, you would campaign, and that's what I did. I campaigned like hell. I put out a lot of letters. Obviously, I didn't have any experience, so I just shared what my experience was in life in general, and who I am, and my integrity, and my willingness to learn and be there for people. And I ran on the fact that I wanted to improve communication within the union, and everybody agreed. Because a lot of other people didn't know what was going on and didn't really know what the union was. So a lot of people looked to me as the change that probably needed to happen, and I was running against somebody that had a lot of experience. And so I was even surprised that I won. I'll be honest with you, because they ran the union for so long, and I think I campaigned hard enough to prove to people how bad I wanted it, and they put their trust in me. So,
and was that rough? Because, like you said, someone that has a lot of experience, right? A kid that you're probably in your 20s, right?
I was like 26, maybe.
Yeah. And like you're saying, like I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what this is, but like, hey, I'm rolling with it. I'm here for you.
Right.
Did you get? I'm pretty sure you did, but what kind of backlash or kind of pushback did you get with that?
Well, I had some letters being put out to people opposing my letters, saying, let's not go with no experience. Let's go with experience, because we're about to go into contract negotiations. So there was some resistance. Not much, but there was. And the thing about me, as soon as they put that letter out, then the very next day I put out my letter, and I just kept on pushing. I pushed harder than they were pushing.
Yeah.
And that was enough for me to win the election. And so when people run for positions, a lot of people don't like to campaign. They get nervous about it, or they just want to wait and see how it turns out. Like, if you want something, you got to go for it.
Yeah.
You got to campaign. You got to talk to people. You got to shake their hands. You got to put letters in the mailbox and just prove to people that you really want it.
Put the face to the letter, right? Like you said, like, communication is very important.
Right.
And I think one thing that I've learned, because I myself am part of a union, the CSEA local, 132, here at the PVUSD. And so being a union officer, right, and also just being someone who is part of the union, communication is super important, because things get so lost in translation. Things get lost from like one day to the next, and that's a game changer. It's like it's the difference between like a raise, or not, the voting, and so I think it's very important.
Well, they say the root of a powerful union is organizing, right? But what's the root of organizing? Communication.
Yeah.
How do you organize without good communication? How do you get everybody on the same page? How do you educate them? How do you engage them without good communication?
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's like you're a salesman, in a sense, like you're a salesman, not even just so much like in the union work, but just in general, right? You want to sell yourself to what you're doing or who you are. You meet someone for the first time, like, kind of going off topic for all those, lovebirds trying to court each other, you communicate to get what you want.
Right.
And so, yeah, I totally agree with that. And so you get voted in, you win. What is that feeling like as well too, right? You said like, dude, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going with the flow, but not so much because I'm nonchalant about it, but because you want to do something, you want to help people.
Right.
And what was that moment like when you found out, hey, James Sandoval, you're the guy?
Right. I was sitting there when the counts were happening for the election, and I already knew halfway through I was going to win because it was I'll be honest with you, a landslide.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember thinking like, uh-oh, like this is actually going to happen. And my wife was with me too, and I looked at her, I'm like, what did we get ourselves into?
Mm-hmm.
And then next I hear people with experience that know about the union saying congratulations or condolences. I don't know how to really tell you,
Wow.
right? Because you don't know. And once I didn't know at the time, but I knew what they were talking about as soon as I got into it. I'm like, oh wow, this is a lot more than I thought. Because I was facing 3 cases already, a 10-day suspension, a termination, or I don't think I had the termination at that moment, but a little later. I had contract negotiations around the corner. We had a CEO, general manager at that time that was not friendly to our union, and a divided membership. I mean, to be honest with you, our members were disengaged for a long time, just not knowing what was the union and their role in the union. And so we had a lot of obstacles and a lot of things to attack right away. The cases alone, I spent a month before the election, just in case I did get elected, to buy union books and ask people that have done it before, just pulling all the knowledge I can and read the books. And so when I did get elected, I had some knowledge, from these books and the people I've talked to be able to hit the ground running. And so I learned my rights as an officer. I learned how to file a grievance. I've learned how to do information requests. So when management tested me, because that's what they do when you first get elected, they want to see what they can get away with. I pushed back. Yeah. And they probably didn't expect it because I was young enough to still have snot coming out of my nose, So, but I pushed back, and next thing you know, they started working with me. Then the respect started happening a little bit more, and then the collaboration started happening a little bit more, and members were starting to buy into it a little bit more because we took an innovative approach with communication. We started, instead of relying on an old-fashioned bulletin board and letters in the mailbox, because I tried that and people just don't check them. We put them all in a text app. Yeah. It was WhatsApp at the time, and now we're in Telegram, but it was a way to communicate with everybody, and also the ability to shut off everyone's ability to respond in that chat group, because nobody likes to get 100 messages whenever one message gets put out, right? Yeah. So not to say it's not a two-way street, because you'll still get the information you need, but if you need, you got questions and stuff, you could still reach out or whatever. Yeah. But that right there was revolutionary for us, because once we got everybody in there, it was easy to squash rumors. It was easy to get everybody on the same page. It was easy to let everybody know when contract negotiations were coming up and put out surveys and get feedback. And people were buying in really fast. Yeah. It was really cool to see the turnaround that happened so quick. Yeah. Just by simply improving communication.
Wow. That is impressive. And I know about Telegram. So, that imagine just not knowing for the longest time, and then now it's like, dude, I'm in the loop. Right. I'm sure people really appreciated that, because it's just all these years, and it's not putting anything that anyone's done in the past, right? But like you said, it's something new. It's revolutionary. It's you're trying something different to get a different result in, and I'm pretty sure there were people who appreciated that.
Right. Absolutely. You know, it was really cool because now it allowed us to band together when we needed to band together. We got a story that happened in our contract negotiations where if I didn't have that communication tool, things would have gone completely south for us with the dynamics that we were dealing with. And, everybody was able to get on the same page for our action because of that Telegram app, where it was like a switch. Yeah. Turn it on, turn it off. And, that was the pressure that we needed to get, what we needed at the table. So.
Yeah. And I'm sure with everything that's good, there's a little bit of bad. And what I mean by that is what kind of pushback on this did you get to? It's dude, this young kid, you came in, young guy, but then you're making these changes, kind of people get a little bit salty and bitter.
Oh, yeah.
That you're doing these things that oh, well, I could have came up with that. Or, I get it. We're not trying to bash on anyone, but it's did you get a lot of that as well?
I had some of it, especially from the previous administration that got voted out, as you'd imagine. And in general, yeah, obviously, because like I said, it was a divided union at the time. So, but once we improved communication, it was just impossible to not see the good things we were doing and the intention that we had, because then you're intentionally not looking for it, you know. And then once, you know, you get enough people on the same page and they try to do stuff like that, it doesn't really work, you know.
Yeah. And I want to ask you really quick, you know, also is like, what is the importance of union in your opinion? Uh, Everyone has different takes on it, but for you, James, what is the importance of it?
Well, the importance of it is the fact that with the union, you get a union contract, and that contract is basically rules for your employer to follow, where they don't have full control. Without a union, they don't have a contract to follow, so they dictate your wages, your benefits, your working conditions. You know, you piss them off, the next you know, you're fired for no. They don't need a valid reason to even fire you without a union. And you know, I didn't know that growing up because I worked at Domino's for 3 years. And they didn't have a union, obviously, so that was my first job, and I just thought all jobs sucked because I was, you know, getting stretched thin, and you know, being the only person inside the store cooking pizzas, and you know, it was just a nightmare. It was insane, and I just thought every job was like that. And then I got hired at Metro, and it's already an established union job since 1980, where we have paid sick days, and we have guaranteed vacation, and we have, you know, overtime provisions. We have way better pay, and you know, job security, where I don't just get fired. I don't have to walk on eggshells and worry about getting fired. I saw the difference between going from non-union job to a union job, and the simplest answer is this: contract or no contract. Do you want guarantees or no guarantees? Relying on promises or something that's in writing? That's the simplest way to put it down. And then with the union on top of that is that you and your coworkers could come together to really push back when things are not going the right direction. And without a union, you're on your own. And go ahead and good luck pushing yourself, because when you push yourself, like I said, they don't need a reason to fire you. You're gone. So what kind of voice do you truly have to make things better?
100%. And what, you know, one of the things that I never understood, and actually our mutual friend, you know, had brought it up to me, is like, you know what? And this is new. This is new for me until like he pointed it out, and I said, like, you know, a lot of these small places are starting to unionize, like Starbucks, right? And then there's smaller restaurants and stuff like that they're starting to. And I'm thinking, and again, this is me just not knowing, and you know, got checked, you know, in a friendly way. I'm like, well, why do we need small unions like that, like Starbucks? It's just Starbucks, or like it's just Domino's, right? Why do we need small unions like that? You know, because for me, I'm thinking like unions are huge and big, you know, or moderate to big. And he said, no, like even small unions are important because it strengthens the union brotherhood as a whole, right? And so, can you kind of speak on that a little bit, like why you think also like it, from small to big unions it's important to have small ones?
So here, I'm going to give you a statistic that you guys could fact check. So going back to the 50s, and I'll speak to only this time where it's really good for workers, because 35% of people had a union at that time, where you could actually buy a car, buy a house, raise a family on one income, and the CEO ratio between worker and CEO was like 20-1. And that's a time where, you know, the working class was doing good, when 35% of us had a union, not even half. And when you fast forward to now, you know, that number, as you'd imagine, probably went down, because now we're living paycheck to paycheck. I think 60% of us are living paycheck to paycheck. You know, the CEO ratio is now, what, 1 in 500, 1 in 6,000. You know, they're making enough money to shoot themselves out to space. And we can't afford to buy a car, buy a house, and raise a family on one income. The only coincidence is that unions went down. We only have 1 in 10 people in a union right now, about 10 to 11%. And that's why we're struggling, because we don't have as many people in a union. Because think of it this way: how is, like, if you're unions support unions, and we help each other. And what happens is that if a non-union employer wants to hire people, how are they going to hire people when all these other union jobs are paying much better? They're going to have to somewhat compete. So they do raise their wages because of these union workers that are making things better. When you're non-union, you can't make things better. but we raise the working class with us when we do better because they have to remain competitive. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Like a rising tide raises all boats, you know, not just a select few. So the more people that are in this fight, the better it is for everyone. And right now we only have 1 in 10 people pushing this fight. So imagine if we had 10 out of 10. Things would be you know, I wish I could see that one day.
Yeah.
Where we truly have the power as a working class because everyone has a union.
Yeah. One of the things that I've noticed, and it's true. And I'm speaking for myself for what I see. The classified union, you know, that I'm with, there's only 900 or so members, right? And there's thousands more classified workers, right? So not everyone's in the union, right? Like you said, it's like 1 in 10, 1 in 20, who knows? And so it would be great because, yeah, I agree. Like, if we're all in it together, there's nothing they can do. They can't. There will be no pushback. We're stronger together. But why do you think that is, that people don't want to join? Because, again, communications is key, right? And so I've been able to have conversations with people about the union. And some people are like, yeah, well, union's not for me. Or, you know, they have experiences from other employers' unions, you know, or other unions that we're a part of. And so how do we, like, not force them? We try to get them, but how do we sell it to them? Because a lot of the people, like I said, they don't think unions are important.
So I got to give it credit to the corporations and special interest groups. They did a really good job between the 50s to now to really convince workers that unions are not good for them.
Yeah.
If you really want to learn why we got where we're at with 1 in 10 instead of 35%, watch John Oliver. It's the union busting video he put on. Workers want unions, but it's not easy to join a union. And and employers literally hire special law firms that are specialized in busting unions and making it difficult for them to even get their union in the first place. But another thing that they did is really push out false narratives about unions, that unions are bad for them. They only want their dues. That there's no need for it. We're a family here. They're going to get in between us. You name it. We all heard it. And they did a good enough job to get people to believe that, and why would they push so hard against the union? We need to ask that question. Why, like, if what's in it for them, and there is a lot in it for them because they want to retain full control.
Yeah.
But they did convince a lot of people. And that's why we're facing what we're facing today. It's one, either they don't know what a union is at all, or two, they heard that a union's bad and they don't really want to do it. And then having to get somebody to switch their mind or get into something new, that alone is a task in itself.
Yeah.
So we got a lot of work to do as far as educating people and convincing them. And then another dynamic that I've realized is that there are some bad unions out there. I'll be honest with you. And it's because the workers didn't hold their union accountable.
Yeah.
Corruption could happen anywhere if you take a back seat, right? And so some unions out there gave all unions a bad reputation because of a bad experience that a worker went through, and they carry that with them.
Yeah.
And I've experienced that myself when I did orientation at Metro one time when I was getting people to join our union, is that they came from another union and they had a valid reason to think all unions were like that. And, another reason why we're here is, there's been a lot of legislation passed that make it difficult for unions to be successful, like Janus and Right to Work. Those are where people don't have to join a union, but there's a union there, and the union's kind of obligated to still represent them and take their cases to court and spend money on them, even though they're not really part of the union. So at Metro, our union over there, we have 100% of people signed on now, which is great. And those are like numbers that I haven't really seen before.
100%?
100%
are in the union.
Everybody's in the union, even though they don't have to be.
Yeah.
Which is, they know the value of it because they're paying into it. But where I'm going with the story is that we had one person that didn't want to join right away. And as you'd imagine, a lot of people that believe in the union get upset when they see somebody like that.
Yeah.
But we didn't go the approach of like saying, you don't understand, you don't get it, we didn't, because in the end of the day, we're on the same page.
Yeah.
We're in this together. So we took the patient approach and then proved to him that our union's not like every other union.
Yeah.
We're really bottom heavy, where the workers, the people on the bottom are the ones running the show. We're in the driver's seat, and we have communication. We treated him just like any other member, and less than a month or maybe less than 2 months, next thing you know, I run into him in the break room, talk to him again, see where he's at. He was ready to not only join the union, but he also wanted to run for an officer position because of how convinced he was that we were the better union that he's experienced, you know.
Wow.
And he did become an officer, and he's doing a good job, you know. But
Awesome.
But that's the stuff that we're dealing with in the union, is either unions that have gave us a bad reputation, or legislation that works against us, or it's the false narratives that people have fallen for. There's so many obstacles, and it takes persistence to keep pushing through all that.
Yeah. What I have an experience with that too. Last year I did these things called Blitz, where you go to like different sites and you set up shop in the break room, and you get people to join, right? And it just happened to be at the place that I work at, so it's just like, all right, well, I'm already here at work. I know the people and everything. And I did talk to one of my colleagues, and same thing, union's not my thing, just experiences, and just I don't think they're, I don't believe in them, and this and that. I'm like, okay, cool, respect, right? Like, you don't want to force it, right? Because of that ability that the law that passed, like, you don't need to join.
Right.
100% respect that. And it wasn't until like this next year I get a call. I need some help. I need some representation, this and that from that same person. I'm like, well, there you go.
This is your opportunity.
It's your opportunity.
Yep.
Right? The importance of it. And I think one of the things that people don't understand as well, and I want you to get your point of view on it, is that people think, well, you're the president, you're the vice president, you're the officer, you need to do your job and you need to represent me. You're the union.
Right.
Right? No. This is a collaborative entity, right? It's not me. It's not you. It's us.
Right.
And I think that's a lot of the misconception of unions that people get in the union, or even, like I said, outside looking in.
Right.
Where it's like, no, because you got the seat, it's your job. No, it's in us. We need to show up together as a whole.
Right.
We got to put in the work, right?
Right.
What did JFK say? Don't ask what your country could do for you, but what you could do for your country. In that same way, right? Don't ask what the union could do for you, but what can you do for the union?
I love that you said that, because I feel the same way. I've always thought that too. I'm like, that's a perfect quote for that.
Yeah, right. So talk about that. What is your insight in?
Well, that's another obstacle that I failed to mention. That a lot of people think the officers are the union. That's the opposite. That is not the fact. We are just elected to make decisions that the majority wants. We're the ones dealing with management. We're the person in between management and you, and negotiating the contract and all that. But the true power comes from the members, and they are the union. And so I tell this to a lot of members, that I could be the best negotiator, or anybody at the table could be the best negotiator. It doesn't mean nothing unless the union, the workers, are together, and that's really what shifts the table. That's the power there. Any negotiations, employers could say no. They don't have to accept your proposals. They don't have to respect you. They don't have to blah, blah, blah. Why would they respect you? Because they see that your members are engaged.
Yeah.
That's where the true power belongs. And members have a lot of powers within their own union. There's bylaws, there's constitutions, there's rules that officers have to follow. So usually monthly union meetings, and if they're not using any of those tools to get involved, or let alone hold the union accountable, of course things are not going to go in the direction that they want to go. So find your spot on the field, because it's not a spectator sport, right? Unions are not a spectator sport. I'll say that again. It's a contact sport almost, and you got to find yourself on the field. And if you're not getting involved, then find your spot.
Yeah, I think that's true. I like the way you put that. It's not a spectator sport; it's a contact sport. You got to get your hands dirty.
Yep.
You got to get in there.
Right.
Because one of the things that again, it may be a hot take, because people know me, they watch this, but it's my experience, is what I see. Right. Is that no one shows up until it benefits or it affects them.
Right.
Right. well, I'm not gonna show up until, oh, I gotta vote on a raise. Okay, sure. Everyone's at the meeting. Right. Oh wait, like, something's affecting me, and what does the union doing about it? So they show up.
Right.
Right. But the in between, like, where you at?
Right.
And I think that bugs me. And I think that's also where the communication needs to come in for anyone, right? Is that you got to show up. You got to be there, not just when it's good or just when it's bad. Sometimes meetings are just like not that long and it's just like an update and that's it. Mm-hmm. But that's still important.
Right.
And so I know, especially right now, and there's nothing, again, it's a hot take and I'm not bashing on anyone, but like right now there's things happening in the school district that people are going to get cut. Right. I don't know if you're following along with what's going on here.
I haven't followed yet.
But they want to cut, they say, 40 FTEs, and there's other stuff like I think it's 40 max for one classification. Right. And so it's public knowledge out there. And a lot of people that, don't usually show up or are about it, like they're starting to come out of the woodworks. Hey, what about me? Like, it's like, we're here for you 100%, dude. We got you. But you got to be involved.
Right.
Right. I mean, one thing that I appreciate the teacher union here is that when they show up, they show up. Right. And on the other hand, might get slack for it. I don't care. But again, I love you guys, but someone's got to call you guys out. When it's classified, things, no one wants to show up, and I get it. Don't get me wrong. I 100% get it. Everyone's got families. Some people live far away. They don't live in town, right? But there is 900 members and thousands more that are classified workers. If we all just show up, the amount of things we can get the district to do for us, right? The amount of respect, and they'll see that we're together, and I'm talking to you guys. There's nothing that we couldn't do, right? I 100% believe that. That's one thing that I noticed. Kind of lost my train of thought, but it's the passion,
right?
It's the passion, because you love what you do. You're there for the people, but we all got to be in it together.
Right. The analogy I like to give people is that, there's this rope and it's a tug of war, and that tug of war is never ending. Mm-hmm. And as soon as you stop pulling, they're pulling harder.
Yeah.
And so if you're not pulling, what are you doing? Because there is really two sides to this. I hate to admit it, but there's the workers and there's the employers, and we work together. I get that. But at the end of the day, it's a rope that we're pulling on. And if they see that we're weak and there's only one person pulling, that's when they're going to tug and win, you know? And so and then people just need to realize it's a constant thing. You don't only pull when things are getting rough, you pull at all times. And the way you pull is by showing up, being informed, being engaged. Don't fall for rumors, and find your spot on the field and get, like you said, get dirty, get on the contact field. It's like a sport, right? Like football. Let's go back to football. Yeah. If the union leader's the quarterback and there's 11 people on that defense, and nobody's going to go out to catch that ball, nobody's going to block for you, nobody's going to run, what are you going to get accomplished?
Yeah.
What miracles are you going to do? One person against 11. Like that, this doesn't make sense. And what I've seen across the nation when I travel to a lot of different places, what I've seen the standard being is about 5 to 10% of any organization is pulling the weight. Mm-hmm. Whether that's political, whether that's unions, or whether that's anything. Yeah. About 5 to 10% of people are pulling that rope. Imagine if everybody got on that rope to pull. That's where I see the power truly start shifting, because that's not happening right now. So how do we get there?
Yeah. One of my favorite representations or things that I've ever watched, it was these animated shorts that I forgot what union put out there. You might have seen it, but one of them was it was a bunch of seals, right? They were on this iceberg, right in the Arctic, right, in ice, and there was a killer whale, and it's eyeing one, right? And it's finding a way to get it, and the seal's like, oh, dude, like, what do I do? It's moving around, and then the killer whale finds its opportunity, and so it goes to attack, but then all the seals move to one side of the berg, and it lifts up, and the orca just freaking mouth open hits the iceberg, and everyone's like, unions, doing it together, this and this and that.
Right.
And there's like, I think 3 or 4 of those little shorts with different animals.
Right.
But like, yeah, you said, like, if we all do it together at the same time,
Right.
dude, we're protected. We're good.
We are.
We're solid.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And, and another analogy I use too is that we're all in the same boat.
Mm-hmm.
And if we got hostile members looking to divide the union or tear it apart or shooting holes in this boat, guess what? If this boat goes down, they're going down too. So we got to do our job. As officer, I find myself a lot of times, where I'm trying to plug these holes that are being shot into our boat and asking people stop, realize we're going down if we don't stop and start plugging these holes, and people think it's this, if they go down, they're the only ones go down. And it's like, no, we all go down if this union goes down.
Yeah. It sucks because, like you said, people have agendas, personal agendas that don't align with the entity or the organization that you're part of.
Right.
And that's so hard. It's dangerous, right? Because you talked about division within the union.
And we're dealing with generational gaps. We're dealing with people that are close to retirement that don't care as much as protecting the medical in the long run and want a bigger pay raise on the way out. We're dealing with fresh, brand new people that are young that don't care about the medical, but they care about the, there's a lot of dynamics that you're dealing with. It's not easy to just get everybody on the same page because priorities are different, people are different, cultures are different. There's a lot of different things that are going on.
Tell me about it. I mean, I can't speak too much detail, but like you said, like, your own crew, your own members are shooting holes into this boat. It's like, dude, like, what are you doing? Like, and, a lot of it, this is the one thing I don't like about Watsonville. I'll say it. We can get a little bit too childish, and it's like, well, because I don't like that person because of this or because of that, my personal vendetta about that, I'm not going to vote for them, or I'm going to sabotage this meeting, because of this person. It's like, really? Like, come on, dude. What are we in high school? What are we in middle school? You
see that a lot. I'll be honest with you. We try to stay away from that because nothing's personal with the union. It should be business. It should be us getting together, and no matter what that looks like, and separating our personalities.
Yeah, man. So what do they say? Like, when you go through a lot of stress, you start to pop up, gray hairs here and there.
Right.
So I remember there was a time period, like, dude, like, even being at the meetings, it's like, dude, when you get like stressed and your shoulders trying to tense up and everything, I was like, dude, I don't know what's going on.
What we need to start doing for union officers is taking a before and after picture.
Oh, dude.
Because
or
just like politicians, you'll see the gray come in real quick because you're struggling a lot, balancing a lot of different things and the stress that comes with it, trying to get everybody on the same page. And you probably can't see the gray now, but it's coming in on the sides, and so, and my officers that worked with me that went through all the stuff that we did at the local level, gray too, it's just a lot. It's a lot. And, to be honest with you, as an officer, sometimes you sit there in moments where you're just like, why am I doing this?
Mm-hmm.
You find yourself doing that because there's a point every now and then where, obviously your employers are going to hate you because you're holding them accountable.
Yeah.
Your members are going to hate you because of a decision you made or whatever's going on. And sometimes your family even turns on you because of all the time you're investing into trying to make things better at work.
Yeah. And if you look at it, if you think about it, the risk reward is higher. The risk is higher and the reward is low,
Right.
And it's all free. Like, it's all volunteer. Like,
it is.
That's what people don't understand is, like, people are taking time out of their life to represent and to try to give the chapter or whatever, like, the best outcome.
Right. I mean, I can't speak for all unions, but at least our union is this way for we call them general chairs, which is like the top person that deals with management for grievances, arbitrations, contracts, all that stuff. They're, for the most part, still full-time bus drivers. So they're doing their full-time job full-time family more than likely because they got kids more than likely, and they're doing this union stuff outside of the normal stuff that everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
And they don't usually have any incentives to do that. You know, they don't get any extra money for it typically. This is just volunteer time out of the pureness, goodness of their heart, trying to make things better.
Yeah.
Or, you know, not to say all of them are great because they're probably in it for the wrong reasons too, but a lot of them are good people trying to do good things, and members sometimes refuse to see that.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I'm not saying that people need to buy in right away, you know, but just give people a chance. Ask questions, demand answers. Don't go off of the first thing you hear. We see that a lot in today's world. You read a title on Facebook because you're rolling through it, you think that title is fact. And when in fact you open that article and you read through it, it has nothing to do with that title said.
Yeah.
But people don't read most of what the article's about. They just go off with surface information.
I'm guilty about that too. I'm guilty. But yeah, I get to the point where like, no, I gotta at least skim, through it. Yeah, it's rough. It's 100% rough, and it ain't for the weak.
No,
it ain't for the weak.
You got to understand the value. You got to have a passion for this stuff because it'll burn you out quick.
Yeah.
You know, I'm still young enough to where if I'm burned out, I just get one good night of sleep and I'm ready to roll again. You know, or if there's just that moment where I see the true power of solidarity, or if we hold management accountable, that stuff energizes me. So keeps me going for a long time.
There you go. I gotta ask, and I recently, again, because of the work that I did and the work that I've seen, and just kind of being involved, it's just like you start to think, right? Are union political? Do you consider yourself a political figure?
100%.
Okay.
I am a firm believer that everything is politics. Everything. If you breathe air, if you have kids, if you shop at the grocery store, if you do any of the stuff that we do all day, every day, because decisions are being made about what we do on an everyday by people that we elect, whether you vote or not. And so we need more people involved with politics. I know it's got a very negative stigma to it because, you know, people think politics, corruption, this, that, blah, blah, blah.
You can't even have conversations anymore.
Well, that too. People don't have the skills to debate or talk about it without, you know, attacking each other or raising their voice, or just get to the bottom of what we need to talk about, because, you know, it goes back to the surface information. They go off of the first thing they hear and they think that's fact, and they're not willing to admit they were wrong about something because their ego's on the line or whatever it is. And it's just difficult to have those conversations. It's difficult to educate people. It's difficult to even get people to register to vote because they think their vote doesn't matter. You know, and to see the amount of people that don't vote is very discouraging. And I think a lot of people still think you only vote for the president. You don't. You vote for your local politicians, your city council, your county supervisors, the bills that are being proposed, all these different things that come about. And why would you want to take a back seat to things that affect you? And especially in the union world, politics is very important because we need decision makers that are on the side of workers. And you don't see that a lot because workers don't get that politically involved. And so say you're a decision maker and you want to keep getting reelected, even though you know the numbers are on the workers' side, but you see that they're not engaged, they don't vote, they don't get involved, they don't care. And then you got these corporate heads that have a ton of money, that have the money to buy advertisements and influence people, and people go off of, you know, surface information anyways. Can you blame these decision makers to start leaning towards the side of the people that are pushing us down? Because that's almost guaranteeing their re-election. But imagine if the other side of it, us workers, are all on the same page. We do vote, we do understand, we do get informed, we do show up to the meetings, we do call them out. That's when decision makers will start deciding with us. And that's when we'll start seeing the decisions that need to happen in our direction. And not enough is happening.
Dang. That's a good way of putting it. Yeah, because like I said, like I thought about it, you know, especially in the time that we're living in. It's like, and again, you talk to different people, and people, you know, I'm not about the union. Yes, I'm about the union. And yeah, it's like we're politicians. You know, and it's like you would never have thought in a million years growing up that you would say that I'm a politician. But here you are, you know, representing the people, fighting the good
Right.
fight, you know.
And you're right. I am technically a politician because my position is an elected position. So the members decide who's in the spot that I'm holding.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I didn't decide for myself. The members do. And not one person decided it. It was by majority vote.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I'm, having to prove to everybody that I'm the right person for this position
Mm-hmm.
every time I'm up for election. So that's technically a politician.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's what other politicians deal with too.
Yeah.
But, obviously big money is not going to influence union elections, so I'm not in that dynamic. I got to prove to the workers, the people I'm representing, that I'm the guy that's should be their voice, that should be standing up for them, that should be helping them out and all that good stuff. So,
yeah. So kind of going back to you becoming president of the local metro, how long were you there? What was that time frame? What was 5 years you said?
well, I was hired in 2012 and I was a bus operator all the way up until I left pretty much. And I think it was about 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I became a union officer, that was back in 2019.
Okay.
So about 6 years of driving a bus and not union stuff,
Yeah.
which I took for granted because I, didn't realize it was really nice to be able to clock out and not think about work.
Yeah.
And now it's impossible. You can't. So when I became a union officer while still driving a bus, when you clock out, you're still working.
Yeah.
And I did that since 2019, and then had the fair share of struggles at work where we came out with positive outcomes, good contracts, our drivers banding together, and all the different fights that we won and kept doing good. And
because there was something going on. I don't remember too much because COVID happened around that time, right? And I think our mutual friend, shout out Ignacio Mata, had mentioned, and I think that was during your time, where you guys had a big victory.
yeah.
Can you speak on that big victory? Are you able to speak on it?
Yeah, I don't mind.
Yeah.
So this is going into contract negotiations, and obviously management at that time probably saw a good opportunity to, steer the contract in their direction. Because I'll be honest with you, our contract's pretty good, and it's not because of me; it's because of all the people that came before us. And like I said, our union was established since 1980, and that contract has been built since 1980. So every 3 to 5 years, that's being renegotiated.
Yeah.
So all the people that came before me sat at the table to keep on improving it and keep on improving it. And so we have a good contract, and it's one of the better ones I've seen. And so when we went into negotiations, obviously with management side, they're always going to try to figure out a way to make the contract a little cheaper or just make it better for them and not so much for us. And they probably saw a perfect opportunity, right? New rep, new team, divided membership. And so they went for it. And they went after, not offering really a pay raise at all. It was like a 1% every year or something like that. After us surrendering pay raises for the last 6 years.
Yeah.
They wanted to triple our contributions towards medical. They wanted to come after a lot of different things in our contract. And the biggest stickler was they wanted to come after our double time. And double time is where you get paid double on your 7th consecutive day, right? Obviously, if you're working 7 days a week, you should be getting compensated on that 7th day because you're not even spending time at home at that point. And so what the bargaining team said at that time on their side was that we don't need you guys to work overtime to cover service. And we were extremely understaffed at that time. And so not only did we feel disrespected by not seeing the pay raises and not seeing the proposals from them that showed us some respect, and then for them to say that proved to me that they were disconnected, and they were also trying to really tear our contract apart.
Yeah.
So, for us, overtime's voluntary. So we had that communication tool we were talking about, right? It was WhatsApp at the time. We use Telegram now, but I was simply able to put out a message to all the drivers at that point saying, hey, they don't think they need us to work overtime to cover service.
No.
So how about just don't work overtime? And, we usually pick up work before, in the middle, and after our shifts, or even coming our days off. And luckily, everybody understood the assignment, and they all did not work overtime. Yeah. I was surprised. I'll be honest with you.
Wow.
Everybody refused to do overtime, and what was happening is that we were dropping 50 to 60 routes. And, the public took notice, the media took notice, and then within 3 days, that's when I finally got a call from the CEO, general manager, saying, hey, what's going on? And, obviously I got to play dumb and say, well, I don't know, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And sure enough, he, is asking why we're dropping so many routes. I said, that's weird because nobody's calling in sick. We're all working, you know? And then the question came about, why are they not working overtime? And I'm like, oh, do you need them to work overtime? You know? And that's when things went south completely, where he got really upset and the media got involved, and you know, things were escalating really quick. But it was only because our members showed up by standing together.
Yeah.
You know. And so what if I put that out there and nobody listened to it, or they still kept working overtime?
Yeah.
Our contract would not look like what it is today.
Yeah.
So that pressure alone was pressure enough to get them to back off on all their crappy proposals, I'll say it, and to offer us one of the second highest pay raises we've ever seen in the last 40 years.
Wow.
That right there was the true solidarity that got me addicted to what I do.
Yeah.
I want to see that everywhere. And so how do we do that? You know, because I saw the true power of us coming together. And that was one of the bigger first victories that we had as a union. And then obviously a lot more after that, but that's my moment. I'm like, oh, I like this. This is fun. This is cool.
You get sucked into it. It's like, dude, this is why I do what I do.
Right.
That's cool.
But I also want to make sure this is clear too, because we deal with the public, right? And so when we were dropping routes, we did have a lot of drivers on their own time, you know, in their own personal vehicles, picking up the people that they knew that needed to get some places. So we care a lot about this community. We don't just use them as a political tool. We just had a point to prove to management, because we were working a lot more than we should have, you know, and management was trying to say that they didn't need us to do that. So, you know, we still kept coming to work. We didn't go on strike or anything like that. We still were trying to do our best to take care of the community while proving our point to management.
Yeah. Yeah, man, I can only imagine what they felt like. It's just like, hey, it's like they want to come at you for something, but it's like, we're doing our job.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Like, we're just, well, can you work extra? No, we don't want to.
Right.
You know? And then that was the turning point. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah.
It was really cool. And so once everybody saw the power of solidarity, it was easier to sell people on the idea, like, man, we got to keep this up.
Yeah.
You know?
Dang. And so that was that time frame. And then you move into post-COVID, because, man, COVID sucked. I can imagine, right? So you're doing that as the president. You're in the seat. You're getting victories. And obviously you've mentioned, like, the ups and downs, right? And you had mentioned that the international S.M.A.R.T took notice. Now, how did they approach you, or how did that conversation go? Because you're doing the work, you're enjoying it, you love it, you got the victory, and you're what, 2 years? You said about
doing my role,
yeah, doing your role. The current one or the one before?
The current one.
Okay, but before, right? So 2 years into this role, how did they approach you?
So the first time they recognized it was at a meeting that we typically have every 3 to 4 years that I went to, and you know, I said enough in that meeting for them to recognize me, I guess, that I was truly trying to make things better for this union by connecting all the leadership across the nation and doing all these other things. But then all the media attention that we got, you know, we were in a lot of different news channels, and the word was getting out there, almost even nationally. I think when there was one time where we were being covered at a high level, and we have our newspaper within the union that we kept coming out on for this, you know, these victories that we were having. So next thing you know, they were kind of like spreading out my role within the union, turning me into an organizer and putting me on these committees and getting involved with our recruitment and retention process, and, you know, creating pamphlets and running out to help out other locals whenever I could, even though I was still doing what I was doing. They were kind of testing me out to see what I was made of and if I could do it. And so, you know, and then the members got to see what I was able to do too. And, you know, even though it wasn't up to them, they, you know, the members are ultimately the ones that decide at our conventions on who they want. But, you know, they gave me the opportunity to really, you know, show what I was capable of, and the members believed in it, which is cool.
Yeah. Wow, dude. And when you became the vice president, right, you're showing people who you are, right? You're leaving no doubt. You know, you're giving them everything you got. You're showing them who you are, your passion. Then you get elected, you get nominated, and you become the vice president of the international. Wow.
Yeah.
You know,
I know.
right?
I know.
Right? Do you still believe it? Like, can you still believe that you're doing it? Like,
honestly, I don't know if I've really had the time to soak it up and absorb it, because I just been nonstop go since I've been elected. You know, it's so much fun. I love it. I get to travel and meet all these great people doing great things for their locals and doing what I can and the experience that I got to help them. Because literally my job is when they hit a brick wall and they can't move any forward, is to call me so I can kick it down.
yeah.
You know, whatever that looks like, whether it's arbitrations, contract negotiations, you know, trainings, whatever it might be. Like, I'm the guy that usually call for help when they run into a wall.
Yeah.
So it's cool to be the guy that could come in and really push them across the finish line. But that also puts a lot of pressure on me too, because beyond me, there's really not much more. I mean, we have the international people around them, but, you know, I'm kind of like the last line of defense if they need something done. And timelines are everything. Arbitrations are, you know, are really important. Contract negotiation. There's a lot that comes with this position, and to remind myself, we're dealing with livelihoods.
Yeah.
You know, people's pay and people's benefits, and to protect them and their jobs too. You know, when they're being wrongfully terminated, to take that case on, to go to court.
Yeah.
Against lawyers. You know, and I don't have no law degree. You know, I'm a kid from Watsonville.
Yeah.
Read some books, watched some YouTube videos, Googled some stuff, and I'm having to learn their terminology. I watched the full season of Suits. To
get you ready.
Yeah, exactly. And next thing you know, I'm going against the law firms and lawyers that, you know, I don't have credentials for, but I understand the job. I understand our rights. I understand what they can and cannot get away with. You know, I understand their just cause protections and all these other things that come with it, to where we could win these cases. You don't need to be a lawyer to point out when things are wrong.
Yeah.
You know, and so.
Objection, Your Honor.
Right. And that's how it is in those arbitrations, like literally court. You got to object to leading the witness. You got to object to, you know, vagueness or all these other things that, you know, you got to do. And it's a lot. It's a lot that you got to take in to do this role. I'll be honest with you.
Well, you know, not just that, but like the fact that, like you said, you're traveling, dude. Like
that, yeah.
You know, when you guys watch this video, like you were on the road the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I just literally came back from Pennsylvania and stopping by Missouri on my way back, and then now here. To put it in perspective, I've been on over 60 flights since the beginning of this year.
Wow.
Ranging from Texas to Pennsylvania to Missouri to LA a bunch of times to San Francisco to coming up on Florida now to New York. I don't even, I can't, 60 times I've been on a plane.
Wow.
Traveling.
Wow. And I admire that, because like we say, like you're taking time from your family.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm sure, I can imagine that's rough, you know, like going weeks at end without seeing your family. And then just, you know, coming back and trying to enjoy the time you have, but also still kind of working. And then, you know, hey, tomorrow I gotta go off again.
Right.
How do you balance that? How do you know, shout out to your wife.
Yeah, that's what I was about to do.
Shout out to your wife, you know, for supporting you through this, because I could imagine the strain it could have. But like, talk about that.
It's a struggle. I'll be honest with you. We got a young family. You know, my son's 10 now. My daughter's 7. To put in perspective, I've been doing this union stuff since my daughter was 3 months old. You know, so, and that's the world that we've been living in, my wife and I, since our kids were born, pretty much. And that's probably, now that is the hardest part about what I do, to where you could explain to the end of the world about how much, you know, how important it is what we do and how we're out there helping people. But kids, you know, they only remember if you were there, if you were not there. So I do my best to spend as much time as possible with them. So even when I come back from these trips, no matter how exhausted I am, you know, I'll spend time with them, talk to them, play with them, take them out to places, you know, doing whatever I can. So I'm never really truly resting, because as soon as I'm coming back, I'm picking up my next job as a dad. You know? And so, and my job's not a 9 to 5. It's not like I could put the phone down at 5 o'clock and I'm done. My phone is available at all times. I felt it ring already a couple times, so I know I'm already backtracked and I gotta already call some people. But my job is to be there for people, and so you know, obviously, the sooner you can get the things, the better. Because if you don't, then they become larger things, and that's what I campaigned on, and that's why people elected me. I even pulled out my phone during my speech, and I said, "You call me, I answer." You know, and I'm gonna be there for people, you know, and that's who I am and what I do, and but that comes at a cost to my family and my wife. She's as passionate about what I do as I am. She's seen the victories. She's been participating in, actually, she shows up to city council meetings with me. She's traveled with me. She's been part of, you know, our auxiliary within the union, you know, finding her spot to help out families too, and learning a lot about the political world and keeping up with what's going on and helping me, you know, understand the latest and greatest that, you know, what's going on. And obviously being there for our kids. They need, you know, the family there. And what's also cool is I got my in-laws that live about 10 minutes away from us, that are both retired and that love our kids. And we lived with them for about 9 to 10 years. Yeah. It's expensive to live around here, right? So we lived with them for a while. And so the bond between my kids and their grandparents are really strong. So we have a really good support system around us. You know, the family, you know, shout out to them. They've really been the reason why I'm at where I'm at and being able to do what I could do.
Yeah. No, that's amazing, man. That's just, I don't know how to explain it. You know, I admire that, you know, and that's awesome because, you need a support system. You know, you're only as strong, and just kind of going back to the union stuff, right? You're only as strong as the people you're around and support you. Right. You know, and shout out to your wife. Yeah. Shout out to your wife.
Thank you.
And you've been everywhere. Like you said, you've been 60 flights. Dang, man.
That's just this year.
Just as this year. Yeah. You know, what's the first thing you do when you land in a new place?
Man, I don't know. I just, you know, it gets like clockwork. You know, you just land, you get on public transit if you can, and if you can't, call an Uber, get to your hotel, and you know, it gets old pretty quick. You know, I'll be honest with you. It was fun at first, but going all these different places or fighting over the armrest in the airplane, right? This how packed it is, and you know, and the time change, the jet lag. It's 3 hours difference on the East Coast. You know, and it's it gets old really fast. But you know, like I said, for me, I just need one good night of sleep or just have that one victory that energizes me, and I'm good to go for a long time. So.
And how long do you usually stay at a place, you know, when you get called over to?
It depends. So it's either, you know, it's all circumstantial, whether it's an arbitration, because that's typically one day, but it could take all day because like court, right? If it's contract negotiations, maybe we have a couple days lined up together. I think the longest I was out without coming back home was maybe 2 weeks. You know, you almost have to do laundry in the middle of your trip, because you run out of clothes. But it ranges. It's really hard to tell. We do have these regional training seminars that our unions put on and taken on, that where we'll pick states that have the most concentrated locals around it, so they don't have to travel too far, and that way we could hopefully get a good turnout. And they're a little bit smaller than the 2 that we used to do, only 2, where we'd have too many people at these things where you don't have that one-on-one time or just have the time to answer all the questions. Yeah. But we do about 6 or 7 of those, give or take. I can't think of the exact number, but a year. And I'm in charge with my colleague, Alvy Hughes. He's one of the other vice presidents on the East Coast, to put on these trainings for the bus side. Yeah. Because like I said, our union's composed of a lot of different workers, but on the transportation division side, there's the railroad side, and then there's the bus side, the transportation side. And we deal with a lot of different laws. You know, they're under the Railway Labor Act. We're under the NLRB or the state agencies. And so there's a whole different training regimen.
And because I wanted to ask you, right, because SMART, right? I asked you before we started recording, but what does SMART stand for?
So it stands for Sheet, Metal, Air, Rail, and Transit. Okay. And then we're the transportation division of SMART. So we used to be formerly known as United Transportation Union for a long time, and then we merged in with the sheet metal workers, and so we just created a much larger union by doing that. Yeah. And so the acronym that I guess came up with at the time when we merged is SMART. So
It's pretty smart. So sheet metal, air, rail, and transportation.
Yep.
And so you're the transportation part.
Yep.
And so each one has its own vice president, right? So how
Yes.
does that how do the roles work?
So sheet metal, we cross path every now and then at certain events and stuff, but they live in such a different world that their vice presidents don't really come and assist our side,
Yeah.
you know, and then same vice versa, you know, our worlds are different enough, but our fight's the same, which is cool because that's when we come together and figure out what are they dealing with, what are we dealing with, we help each other. On the railroad side, they have their own vice presidents, and on the bus side, we have our own vice presidents. To put in perspective, I think the railroad side has about 6. The bus side has 2. The sheet metal side, I'm not sure how many they have. But, you know, with only having 2 vice presidents on the bus side, think about it this way. Like, you know, if my colleague on the east side can't deal with something, I'm flying over there to help them. There's only 2 of us doing this.
Yeah.
So it's pretty difficult, but, you know, we're getting it done. Being part of a much larger union helps you find the resources you need when you need them. You know, we have a legal department, and we have the structure that we need to make this union very successful.
Yeah. Because that, I mean, just by, you know, every single department, they all play a role in each other, right? In some way or another. And I think that's really cool that you guys are all one.
Right.
You know, like we talked about, stronger together.
Right.
Stronger together.
Stronger together.
And that is pretty neat. I'm going to have to do some more research into it because it just, you know, man, if we could do that across the board, darn, I'll just make one huge giant union.
Right. You know, other countries, I believe, do that, where
Really?
there's only like one union for all classifications. Like for bus drivers, I think there's only one union, or the railroad, there's only one union, or like, and what's cool about that is that, you know, there's only one union really, you know, having to figure out things that when things come up, you're not dealing with all the different unions that may not be able to get along with each other.
Yeah.
To where some workers get left behind, some workers get improved. You know, it's just one union, so everybody's together on the same page.
Yeah.
In our country, we have a lot of different unions. You know, there's ATU, TWU, there's SEIU, there's associations, there's S.M.A.R.T, there's all these different unions, and we sometimes represent the same classifications.
Yeah.
And the only form of communication that we really have to work together is through the AFL-CIO. That's like the union of unions. And that's where we collaborate on legislation together, where we work on issues together, and, you know, we agree to not attack each other. You know, there's certain clauses to be part of the AFL-CIO. And then there's state level AFL-CIO, like state federations, and then there's local labor councils. And if you ever truly want to figure out who the champions are for labor, you know, get involved with your local labor councils, because that's the union of unions at a local level.
Yeah.
Where we're working together, where I'm, you know, I forget how many people, I think 40,000 people across Monterey and Santa Cruz here for the Monterey Bay Central Labor Council. And those meetings, we're constantly getting candidates in our community coming to us saying they want the endorsement from labor. Do we just give it to them? No. We ask them questions. We hold our feet to the fire. We ask people, hey, have you dealt with this person? Have they really helped you out? Or if we had a bad experience, we come in there, we go there and share that experience, you know. And if they want the endorsement, they got to put all their answers in writing on how they're going to, you know, with the questions that we develop, and they got to sign off on that. And then not only that, we ask them questions on the spot in the forum. So we truly vet out the people that are just doing this for lip service, and then we truly, you know, look for the people that are champions, and we all vote on it within the union of unions, not just one person. So if somebody has the endorsement from the labor council, you know this person's been vetted through the labor unions, the union workers, the workers in general, as the champion for labor.
Yeah.
So just everybody be aware of that in our community. If you do want to get somebody that's truly standing up for us, look for that endorsement.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely will. James, you kind of like talked a little bit, and you mentioned about, you know, just your experiences growing up, you know, the struggles of growing up. How has that, you know, growing up and the things that you faced early on in your childhood, in your youthhood, helped shape and mold who you are?
I think the easiest way to put it is all of everything that I'm dealing with that could create a lot of stress and push people down feels not as bad as it could be. I guess I could that, because anytime I'm facing a moment where it's really hard, all I got to do is say it's not as bad as it was, because not to get into all of it, but when I got hired at Metro, I was living out of my own car, and my parents were homeless, living in an abandoned warehouse. And then, our family was separated at a very young age, and all these different things that you could think of happen. Yeah. And my mom passing away in her sleep, and then my dad, right there next to the Watsonville Transit Center, was shot and murdered. You name it, I almost been through it. Long-term relationship where we find out she wasn't being loyal, and then next there's just so many different things. And not to take away from anybody that's struggling, because I know we all struggle, and we don't usually wear it as a badge of honor. I do. I just wear it on my shoulders. I'm not ashamed of what I've been through. I lean into it because it shaped who I am. And even as cruel as it sounds, losing a loved one taught me a lot. I hug my kids a little bit better, harder now, and my family, and I never know when it's going to be the last conversation I have with somebody. So I carry that with me, that where I live day to day. I don't live in the past. I don't ask for sympathy points, and I'm not, all that kind of stuff, or just, or letting it, shape me for the worst. Because when we deal with stuff like that, there's two roads. It's either, go down this path of, it's going to be a little bit harder, but it's going to be better for you in the long run, or take this easier road that a lot of other people take, where it's usually drugs, alcohol, giving up, and just, but then the road's going to get harder later.
Yeah.
I kept choosing the road that I kept thinking was right at the time. Just keep going, and it led me to here, and I never, if you would have asked me over 10 years ago if I would be where I'm at right now, there's no way in hell that I would have thought where I'm at. I was just trying to get a job to put food on the table. And I appreciate everything I've been through, because I carry that with me, and I'm trying my best to teach that to my kids too, without them having to go through what I've experienced. And that's the balance that I struggled to find as a parent.
Yeah. And you can almost like relate, right, to a lot of things, in the sense that when you go, like you said, we you deal with people's livelihood, right? And so you can relate with them because of your own experiences, right? It's good work that you're doing.
Thank you.
And just, again, the little that I know, that I've seen that you put out there, is you're doing meaningful things, and I think a lot of people appreciate that. And like you said, like, this is a selfless thing. This is a selfless job. It's not even a job. It's volunteer. Right. And so for you to do what you're doing, it's awesome, dude. It's inspiring.
I appreciate that.
To know the James that, I grew up with, just like I said, just a kid from Watsonville, man. And then you're out here, Mr. International, going up and down, Wow, it's just like, it's cool, man.
Thank you.
I really appreciate just your story and what you're doing, man. I mean, I can't express it enough.
Thank you. For anybody that's listening now, just understand that, just don't give up. Whatever you're going through, just don't give up. Keep pushing forward, and good things will come. I think good things happen to good people, and you just got to stay good, stay on the right side, keep taking the right road.
Yeah. Keep on keeping on.
Keep on keeping on.
And I got to ask, and I know you don't have a lot of time when you kind of come back and, you jump into being a father, but the moments that you get for yourself, and I'm sure they're few, what do you do? Like, you say sometimes you just need a nice long nap, but to ground yourself and to kind of recharge in those moments of just being by yourself, what do you do to just...
To be honest with you, there's not too much time of that, but as soon as I get home, the first thing I do is grab my kids, grab my wife, and just hug them. And that's when I feel like I'm home, and it grounds me, and remember why I'm doing it, because I'm not only doing it for the people now, I'm doing it for the kids in the future too, which includes my kids.
Yeah.
We stand on the shoulders of the workers that came before us, and what I'm trying to do is give strong shoulders for the future generations that come after us. So it's not just the fight right now, it's the fight for the future. So looking at my kids and holding them and remembering why I'm doing what I'm doing really helps ground me. And as a dad, just to, play with them and take them out to what they want to do and see their smiles and all that good stuff.
Nice. There you go. There you go. Where do you see yourself going? Where do you see this going? I mean, you've in a short period of time, you go from driving the buses to being, you know, elected official to being international. What's the next step? What do you?
Oh man, I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I love what I'm doing, and I love the role I'm doing. To where you don't do the same stuff every day. I could see myself doing this as long as they allow me to keep doing this. I'll be honest with you. What's cool about the position I'm holding now is typically held by older people.
Mm-hmm.
And so when it's typically held by older people, they come in with their experience and they help out people, and then they're out the door. For me, if I could keep doing what I'm doing at the high level and the experience that I'm getting from across the nation, I get to carry that experience with me for a long time and still hold the role where I could help as many people as I can.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping members see that it's an investment to continue allowing me to do this position, because I'm absorbing all of this experience from everywhere I'm going and applying it wherever I can.
Yeah.
And educating as many people as I can. So it's hard to say. I don't mind doing this for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I really don't. This is what I love to do. This is my passion. We're in the business of helping people. I'm proud of what I do. I don't lose sleep over it because I don't feel bad about something. Like I really feel like we're helping a lot of people and part of the bigger picture.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. Yeah, that's great, James. I mean, again, thanks for taking the time, right? Like I said, like he was out, for the last 2 weeks, and he came back this week, and you're managing to squeeze in this time with me, and like you said, your phone's blowing up even as we speak. I appreciate this, man. I really do, and I appreciate what you're doing, and it's inspiring for me. Like I said, knowing you for a long time, your story and to what you're doing now, it's, you're never too old to be inspired, and you inspired me.
Right. I appreciate you, man. Thanks for having me on this too.
Yeah.
Like, I've watched a couple of your episodes, and you're doing great work, man. I love this podcast. You're allowing people with unions coming on here to talk about unions, and we don't get too many channels talking about unions, so we need more of that. So please follow Eddie and the good work that he's doing. And
Thank you.
Appreciate what you do too, man.
Yeah.
Like, you inspire me too. I mean, hopefully maybe one day we could do a podcast within our own union, because this is the kind of stuff that needs to happen.
Yeah, people need to talk about what's going on,
Right.
Across the board, and stay informed. And, again, it's another way of communication.
Right.
Another way of communication.
Getting us all on the same page.
Yeah. Yeah. Guys, James Sandoval, S.M.A.R.T. Vice President for Transportation, just a kid from Watsonville, Mr. International. But you're doing good work, man. If people want to know more about S.M.A.R.T, where can they find you or more information about S.M.A.R.T?
So if you go to our website, smart-union.org, that's where you can find a lot of information. We have social media platforms. There is a sheet metal platform for social media, and then there's the transportation division side. So if you aren't interested in the transportation division side, follow S.M.A.R.T Transportation Division on Instagram, Facebook. I think we have a LinkedIn too. And we put out the stories, the victories that our union's doing every now and then. And if you know people that are in transportation, let me know. And then also we have a link where you can fill out your information to where we could reach out to you if you're interested in joining a union. A union is good for people. Don't fall for the false narratives. Look into it. Don't go off of the information that you've heard from somebody. Look into it yourself. You'll see clear hand that the union is better for you, regardless of what kind of job you have.
Yeah.
And our union will represent transportation workers, but if you're not transportation division, there is the AFL-CIO where you could reach out, a similar link where you could fill out your information, and then an appropriate union organizer would reach out to you, because the union specializes on certain, different classifications. So there's a way of you starting this process. And if you want to be part of history, because the people that did this for us at Santa Cruz Metro back in 1980, we still got pictures of them.
Nice.
We still honor them. Those are the people that had the courage, that was willing to take on, bringing in a union in the first place. They even had to go on strike for like 10 days to get the union in the first place. It's a fight.
Yeah.
But they got it, and now we are benefiting from those people that took on this fight. So no matter how hard it might be, be part of history, and don't find yourself on the sidelines. Get in the action, and don't only just do it for yourself, but do it for everybody around you, and it's going to benefit all of us.
Yeah. Really quick, one word to describe Union.
One word: solidarity.
Solidarity.
There
you go. It's the universal word.
Yep.
You hear it all the time.
Absolutely.
Solidarity. You have it here. James, again, thanks a lot, man. I appreciate the time. Guys, James Sandoval, S.M.A.R.T, check him out. We'll put the links and we'll put the information on the bio so everyone can follow and check out. So thanks again, James. Guys, thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys on the next one. God bless.
Appreciate it, Eddie.